real excited. I'm really glad that you could make it here. It won't be a very long meeting, and but it's going to be. It's I don't know. It's always well worth my time. Anytime that I have even just a few minutes with JT, because he can look at things and do things in just a few minutes that sometimes we don't. I don't know. Sometimes I don't see quite the same. And one of the things that I have learned in the last few months is something I didn't really know a lot of is there is really a major difference in a mentor and a coach. Okay, because I've always kind of confused them together, but that's not really the way it is. Because JT, he's my coach, and he tells me not really what I want to hear at all, all the time, I should say. And he just kind of looks at things very, very constructively, right, and gets right to the point. Where some of the mentors I've had, I wanted to be like them. And I have in many ways, but a lot of times I don't think they've been as constructive as far as what their advice is sometimes. And that's one of the big aha moments I've had in the last few months anyway. And it's really, it's really good sitting at the like at the founders table. It's just a whole different way of a way they do deals and get right to the point. Here's Mr. JT Foxx right here. My coach, the #1 wealth and business coach in the world. We're so glad to have you, JT.
I'm glad to be here. I just literally got off an 8-hour arbitration and sat there and listened to 8 hours of lies. This is the thing about people. They're just distortion of reality is just, it's like, I'm not even surprised about it. It's like distressed homeowners, right? They always lie. It's never their fault and they always lie, right? Wholesalers, they always tell us the property is worth more than what it is, right? The tenant, there's always somebody that dies. Like every time a tenant's late, somebody died. And so I probably killed more people than anybody else because everybody apparently is dying in my building. And everybody has COVID every month. It's time to pay. So I think I'm the only one who has a strain that comes back every month when it's time to pay. So these are business problems, and that's the thing sometimes about real estate is, I've done over 1,000 deals. I own 76 companies and brand. I started with negative $74 to my name and went down to negative 34,000. And I came from Canada, the United States with nothing. And now literally we do real estate and businesses all over the world. And, it just comes down to, you can't worry about anybody else. You could just worry about you, and people will do business with you because they like you. And so believe it or not, sometimes I get buildings, offers, multi-units because people just like me, even though my offer is not the highest. And so that's something John has, instant likability, and many of you here. So, in the name of supporting John, I said, and let me stop by. And I promise you, I thought about canceling 15 times. I'm so brain fried, but I was like, always keep your word, always do what you say you're going to do, which, to be honest with you, we all know people don't do that. We can't find anybody to work. Everybody's lazy. Everybody's blaming everybody else. I've been so busy. I don't even know what the market did today. So I'm just glad to be here in an environment with like-minded individuals rather than a bunch of attorneys that are just the worst.
So what part of Canada are you from, JT?
I'm originally from Montreal. So I came here about 14 years ago. Like literally nothing. I started on Chicago. And then from then on, I, pretty much expanded all over the world. We have literally, we're in 55 countries right now. And so I own everything from museums, multi-units. We bought Macy's. I bought a mall about a couple of weeks ago. So we do a lot of different things like that. And you never think it's just, and I'll tell everybody, whether it's a big deal or a small deal, at first you start with the small deals, of course, but it's just another number. It's a zero and it doesn't matter. A big deal has the same problems as a small deal. So, obviously things are going to be challenging, I believe, in the next 18 months, which is going to be good for us. I think there's a lot of, and I heard an article this morning. We were on the founders, John, this morning. I don't know if you remember, but a guy said, he used to get rates at 2.5 2 years ago, then 3.5 about like 2 months ago. And now he's quoted 4.5. And we're talking about 4.5 on a 5-year term with, by the way, cap insurance. So that to adjust, so you put more money. So anybody who bought these deals at a 3 cap, people like Fluffy Cardone, that's the nickname I have for him. Like you buy at 2.5%, you're gonna lose money, right? Because you have 5-year only. And I think we all know here that in 5 years, rates are not going back down. They're gonna stay up. we only had low rates because of the COVID situation. The problem is that we can't lower the rates because there's a recession coming. We're increasing the rates because that's the only thing that's going to stop inflation. So you have rising inflation, you have rising wages, you have rising fuel. The Fed has already done everything it's done, so it's powerless. All they can do is keep, basically you're raising rates to ruin the economy. That's really what's being done. And there's no other way to do it. 10.8% inflation last month. So all this is just going to be really good for us in terms of deal, because there's still a lot of equity in homes. There's still a lot of equity. So what's going to happen is people over leverage themselves, not one house, but 3, not one building, 10. And they're going to be like, I need to liquidate this like right now. Give me that. You get it below market value and you're going to make a lot of money. And so I do think it's going to make more money. It's not going to be like 2008. It's a different kind of thing. It's just kind of like people bought a bunch of Ferraris and they couldn't afford it. And all of a sudden they can't make the payments. And so now they got to liquidate the Ferrari and the watches and stuff like that. And they probably should have just driven an Audi, but because they thought it would forever last. I mean, you take a look at the NFTs, right? Think about it. A monkey for 200,000. Like, what did people expect? The first tweet sold for 2.8 million and it sold back for $684. So it just goes to show we stick to the fundamentals. And I think we need to stop living into what other people think, of what we perceive other people successful, because I assure you, the people you're looking up to who pretend to be more successful, you have more than them. So you just do what you do, and you be safe, secure. Listen to people like John, who's probably one of the best mentor and coaches you have for him, tons of authenticity and actually cares about you. So, you're in the right hands, and it's very good that you guys show up to groups like this every week to get that accountability. And even if things are not going good, this is where you need to come. So it's going to take a little bit of patience, and I'd rather you wait for the perfect deal rather than get into a deal that's not going to be good. I can go for hours, but
Absolutely. Thank
just
you.
name me whatever topic. It doesn't, just mention a word, I'll just start talking.
JT, what was your first deal?
First deal was a piece of land that I bought for $74,000 by accident. It was a house in foreclosure. I lost the foreclosure because I didn't know what I was doing. And they said to me, like, it's not your fault. And it was my fault because the property owed 320. I got the bank to accept a short sale at 240. So I thought that I was going to make 80,000. And then I put it on the market quickly because I was going to double close it. And someone offered me 420. And they're like, you keep the 80, we'll just take 120. Now, I was naive. I'd never done a deal, right? So I thought about, wow, this is amazing, right? Well, now I'm more educated later on. You clearly realize that why would someone pay 420 for a property that's not even worth 280? So it's kind of like a straw buyer. And I lost the deal. Secret Service showed up at the closing. That was my first deal. And the Secret Service comes in and they go, I was with the other guy. They walk in, he goes completely white. Like, you could tell and I'm like there and I'm like, yeah, we're Secret Service. I'm like, oh, is the president here? Like, completely oblivious, 24 years old. It's completely moronic. And then they put us both in separate rooms and he goes, can you tell us what's going on here? I'm like, I'm making $80,000. I'm like, excuse me? I'm making $80,000. So you admit to partaking in this transaction? Yeah. And making money. I'm like, 80,000. So they leave the room and I can hear him. He's either the dumbest guy we've ever met, right? Or he's the most arrogant guy we've ever met. So they walk in and says, do you know you're about to commit felony fraud? I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden, like, you can go to jail and we can arrest you right now. And the only reason we're not is we actually believe you had nothing to do with it and you're completely ignorant, but ignorant of the law is not an excuse. And so they took the other guy to jail. I didn't go to jail because I didn't close the transaction. If I'd closed a transaction, I would have been complicit of fraud, even though I had no idea. So that was my first deal. Secret Service. Apparently they do counterfeits too, and coins and wire fraud and everything. So I will never forget that day. So whole new appreciation when I watch shows on TV now. So basically they said to me, well, you tried your best and I felt bad. And then they told me to a piece of land and I bought that land and then flipped it to a developer because they were building an airport that they never built, but at the time they were, and I made $74,000. And then 2 years later, I bought that couple. They were both in a wheelchair, a house in Indiana for 120,000. Because I always felt bad I lost the deal. That's the first deal I lost and the last deal I lost. And I said, I'm never going to have someone lose something because they depended on me.
But you got a great story too. And I mean, the stories are what really makes the real estate deals in the long run, as far as
No, I don't think it's stories, because how I did it is not how I would do it now. I think everyone now, like, for example, the founders, like, I started with one partner worth 250, another partner worth, 2 million, another partner worth 20 million, another partner worth 400. And I gradually went up. Now you can go to a call like this. If I like the deal, I'll buy it. Like, it's a different time now. And I think right now it takes work ethic. It takes persistence. And the more offers you make, the more money you make. So it's a different game. So that's why I never really tell my story as much anymore, because it's irrelevant. Who cares about my story? The story that we care about is what's going to happen to you and what's going to happen in your life and in your business. We're finally going to enter a good time. I think in the next 12 to 18 months, we will have access to some of the great deals. And so I would just be prepared. I'd listen to John and I'd be focused, and don't let see when the market is saying, oh my God, it's crashing. That's actually good for us to find great deals. When the market is up there, everybody wants insane numbers on multi-units. It's insane. It's like, and the sellers are still in denial, by the way. They're still in denial, but that'll come down. The buyers think it's a buyer's market. The sellers still think it's a seller market. So we're at a standstill. So you watch what happens.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for.
I feel like I'm on an awkward date. You don't know what to say. I think I've been doing a good job, but I'm not sure
You are.
because you don't know what to ask me. I mean,
Hey, I've got a question. My name is Demetrius. What are some of the techniques you use to keep a pulse on the market, the real estate market?
I mean, if you guys listen to my podcast, JT Foxx podcast, I read over 40 newspapers a day. So you go to Spotify and you go JT Foxx XX. I read 40 newspaper a day, and then I do a podcast every day saying what's going on. And all of you should listen to the podcast I did on Sunday with George Ross, President Trump's former right-hand man, 47 years, doesn't get involved in politics. So I say Trump, and some people smile and some people are shocked. So I forgot not to say the word. He was on the Celebrity Apprentice judge. He's 94 years old, and he's gone through 12 cycles, and he explains every cycles. And so much wisdom. And by the way, he left right before President Trump because he didn't want the aggravation or the drama, which probably the only one he didn't go to jail. So everybody else got there. So he was just explaining. He's been my coach for 10 years, and he explained to me what's going to happen. And he made some really good points that really assured me. And that wisdom is very important. I think wisdom is very important. I think a lot of young people don't listen to older people because they think they know their mother. I think wisdom comes from people who have gone through that round, who've gone through that cycle, not people who did 3 real estate deals and then put courses online. That's why John has so much authenticity. The problem is John is not flashy. If John showed a Ferrari or a plane, all that, then somehow people would think he's more successful, but he's not. Him and I are much more in line. I've never showed pictures of my house. I've never showed the cars I own, because it's all about the results that you have. So, but that's the world we live in now, show me, which I'm the type of person, results don't lie, but people who don't have any post pictures of Ferraris and Lamborghinis.
Mm-hmm. Great point. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the answer is that you listen to my podcast. I read the Wall Street Journal every day. So, and then you kind of talk in the market, the slowdown. The key for everybody is time on market. That's going to be the big number for all of us, time on market. We used to buy a house and get like 8 offers, 10 offers, 12 offers, the day one. And now we're getting like 2, maybe. And then it's been a month. And then you think about, because before the pandemic, it was very normal. You get a house, it could take 3 to 4 months before you get an offer. And now we're like spoiled. Like, what? I didn't get 10 offers today. That's insane. So, so that's what I would recommend.
So are you a fan of paying them off?
Fan of what?
Paying off your properties, your real estate?
Well, no, because if you want to be safe and you want to 50, 70 cents on a dollar. So you have an asset and you own it free and clear. And then what happens, it just sits there. So let's say you make 10,000, you can't scale, but it also depends how much money you want to make, right? If you say, I'm happy making $50,000 a year and your properties are paid off, that's okay, right? I like to make 5 million a day. So my decisions are a little bit different than let's say someone. So it really depends. So you figure out how much money you ultimately want to make, and you figure if you need to leverage. Now, I'm not one, I have no credit card debt. I'm not a big fan of debt. I've actually never had any debt, but even on my house, like I'm a pretty big house, which I like doubled in Nashville like in a year and a half. That's how crazy the market is. Doubled. It's insane. And like I was able to get a mortgage at 2.2% for 30 years. Like I can take that money and put into something safe at 10% and guarantee 10%. Like, why would I not do the spread? Because that's what the banks do, right? They take the spread. But I'm not a big fan of people. That's why I like partners. I don't like if you had a deal, and so I was getting this deal, and then you put some money, I put money, some money. I think that's a way of leveraging. Sometimes people just leverage so much debt that if something goes wrong, they lose it all. And so I'm not a big fan of borrow. You know, George says borrow as much money for as long as you can. I have a very different philosophy. I prefer partners. So I like partners strategically for money. They put money, I put money, or I do the work. Now I don't need to do the work to get the money because I have the money. But back then I did my first 500 deals without using any of money's money. And even when I had the money, I had like $12 million in the bank, cash. I still didn't do the deals myself. And my partners say, why don't you do the deal yourself? No, we're partners. I'm like, but you have the money. I said, I wouldn't have the money if it was because it was you. You're the one I have this money. So now I say I have this money. I'm not going to do it. So would you rather do 500 deals and make 50%? Or would you rather do 8 deals with your own money? So, but it's also depend. I mean, you're a young guy. So, you know, maybe you got a lot of years left, but it just depends what's the end goal for you. And then do the strategy and then work backwards.
I'm older than you think.
You're probably 37. I only look good because there's a light and I had to shave for arbitration. So I had to look like I was actually young and fresh, but I am having a good hair day. So
Yeah, I'm having a bad hair day.
listen, it's less work.
So I've heard this wisdom from John. And I was about to ask you, and then the answer popped in my head, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What is the strategy for finding partners on deals?
Well, number one is I do business with people, not deals. So that's a big part about success. And same thing with you. A crappy person can ruin a great deal. And it's happened to me a few times in the last couple of years. We had an amazing deal. We're supposed to make $12 million of profit. I only make it 1 million, which was still good, but the egos get involved first and foremost. So people do business with people they like, and it depends on your situation. Like for example, I would do, like John has this instant kind of credibility to him. And I see a lot of you have that. He's very trustworthy. And so I would do business with John, right? Because he's got that authenticity. He's non-flashy. And you know, whoever I'm investing with, you better work harder than me. Because if I work harder than you, then, you know, and so, but if you love what you do, it's not really work. But you also too, you can't really go from someone to say from 0 to 9 figures, right? Or 0 to 8 figures, because people 8 and 9 figures want to do business with people that are more, everyone wants to do more successful business than more than them. I have a different model. I spent $50 million of my money investing in other people in the last 2 years, cash into other people. But I'm pretty selective. And on the founders, we had a call this morning and there was a Tampa deal. And funny enough, nobody was interested in this Tampa deal. I mean, I'm going to do it. I know where it is. And, you know, it's a profit of 347,000. It's an ROI of 46% for 6 months. So I was like, I don't know. The problem is that I used to say when I invested in deals, so everybody invested, but because of laws and stuff like that, the attorney says, don't say, so nobody knows whether I'm invested or not. And now after I do it, as I'm invested, people are like, I knew it. So I'm very short-term minded right now until I see what happens, turn and burn. I definitely would be very skeptical about buying multi-units for the long term, unless I got a killer deal. Like I would not do a 3, 4, 5 cap deal right now, even 6, because you don't know what's going to happen. The rents, and especially where we're selling all our properties. I have a lot of properties all over, but all of them, most of them, and some of them are in Kentucky. And the rents went from $650 to like $1,800 in like 2 years. And it's in the middle of nowhere. And Tyson Foods is the biggest thing. Like, how are people making, they're going to, like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand. People are paying rates I would never buy. You know, they're buying properties off me at a 3 cap. And I'm like, how are they going to make money? So, you know, be cautious. because you're only as good as your last deal.
Got that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitris. You're a good outlaw.
Good guy.
Well, I don't expect you to say bad. I mean, he's right here. So
Well, no, he's
you
in
can tell
some
me
of our
later.
private groups. He's good. Yeah.
any other things before I have to go?
But I think I really appreciate you sharing, investing in people and relationships, because that's what I've really learned from you a lot in the last few months, especially. Just the numbers are one thing, but just looking at the people and dealing with them directly is just it's changed my world dramatically.
I mean, I normally speak to Zooms with thousands and thousands of people, right?
Right.
It's supposed to be 15 minutes. I'm like at 21 minutes. Every 15 minutes of my day is scheduled out, but this is my last stuff. I haven't eaten all day, like literally all day. I've been dealing with this nonsense, but I gave you my word that would come. And so I don't care whether there's 10,000 people. I care about the right people. And if you're the type of guy, I'm sure you attract the same. And based on the people that I look here, you're clearly in the right hands with John. So told him, didn't get paid, said, I'm going to come, kept my word. It crossed my mind 3 times today not to come. But the answer I said is this. I said, you know what? I don't want John to be disappointed in me. Right. And by the way, he would have understand whatever I would have said to him. He would have understand. And maybe you would. I just don't like disappointing people. I get disappointed all the time. You will get disappointed all the time. But I always do the right thing, even when people are not looking, because I don't like when it's done to me. Just like if I have to make a reservation restaurant and for some reason I can't make it, I'll actually call and say, I'm sorry, this and that. Like people just don't show up. People, I'm sure there's people who are supposed to show up here today, then show up. That's the hardest part about people. Success doesn't build character. It reveals it. You start unknown and you finish unforgettable.
Great. So honored, JT. Thank you so much.
No, it's my honor to be here amongst great people who are here at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever time zone you are, to better themselves. That's all I can ask. And so after being in a room, but yes.
Aside from the podcast, where else can we find you?
You can go to my Instagram. So that you should all follow me on Instagram, and there's links there. So the best thing is you can follow me on Instagram. If John wants you to come to the founders, he'll tell you about it. And he has to vouch for you. So I've assembled a group of billionaires, 9 figures, 8 figures, and we all work along each other. But you have to be vouched. And so if John vouches for you, I'd love to have you. But I think your primary goal would to stay here, because I would never come to anybody's virtual and say, yeah, come to me. But follow me on Instagram, send me a message that you're on here today. I'll respond. I check my own social media because I think it's important to know what works and what doesn't work. And just know every day is different. No one knows what's going to happen a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now. But we know one thing: if we do nothing, nothing will happen. And so the fact that you guys here just goes to show, because when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, when your fire inside you burns stronger than the fear out there, then you're going to develop some confidence, and confidence will lead to success. Success will lead to significance, and significance will lead to legacy.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you
No,
so
my
much.
pleasure. Nice to
Thank
meet you,
you.
Jay. Nice
Thank
to
you
meet
for
you, everybody. It's
spending
an
your
honor
time
to have been there. Thank you for entertaining me. Sorry if I took a little bit more time than ever, but I can't wait to see you, John. And let's all go make millions. And by the way, rule number 1, never worry about the money. The more you worry about it, the more it doesn't come. And then when you stop worrying about it, it comes. It's the weirdest thing ever. When I didn't worry about money, all the deals came, all the money. When I was stressing about it, it didn't come as messy. So maybe money likes stress-free environments or deals, but just brace yourself. Listen to John. It's coming. The deals are coming. I'm on the phone with banks. They're telling me they're starting to see like people delinquents. They're starting to see multi-units shake a little bit because they overleverage themselves. Get ready. This is where the wealth is going to be made. Thank you, everybody. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.